Lewisburg Borough Councilman and acupuncturist Trey Casimir is the Democratic Party's candidate for the 85th District seat in the Pennsylvania House of Representatives. In the second of our interviews with candidates for the seat, SQVNEWS spoke with Mr. Casimir at his office in Lewisburg on August 25, 2010.
I'm running for the Pennsylvania House because of these guys. This is my wife Amy and my 3 little boys, and I was lucky to grow up in a place that was one of the best places in the world you could grow up as a kid. We had the river to fish in, we had Little League baseball to play, we were safe anywhere we went. If we wanted to make money, we could get a job. And I'm doing everything I can at the local level and hope to take that to the state level to make sure that this part of the state and the country remain a great place to live and raise a family. The top 3 issues I am putting on my agenda, first of all, getting this doggone thruway done. To try especially to get some of the truck traffic off our local highways. I think that would be good for local business and local commuters, and I know it would be good for the truckers. They don't like waiting at our traffic lights, and if we could get them straight over to I-180, that would be better for everybody. After that, or along with that, although no one in this district is going to get rich off the Marcellus Shale, we are downstream of that whole development process, and we have to institute a severance tax on the gas that's being extracted from the Marcellus Shale. I know there's a lot of push toward that throughout the state, but I certainly would get on that train and be part of that effort. And finally, I think that that another thing the state can do and should do is make sure that everyone who wants it has access to high-speed internet service. There's a digital divide that's growing in the country and the world, and I know a lot of people who only live 10 or 15 miles that way, and they don't have high-speed internet access, and they're missing out on a lot of what's going on in the economy and in the culture. I think we're really lucky in central Pennsylvania in a lot of ways. It depends on which side of the economic swing you're on. If things are going up in general, they're usually slower to respond around here. But if they're going down, they're equally slow to respond. So I think we've had a little cushion. One of the things I've noticed in particular is real estate and the number of houses that are on the market. And when I idly glance at the prices, it seems like they're not priced at appropriate rates in some cases. This is most people's biggest investment, and if they need to have access to that money and they're unable to sell their house, that's a really difficult thing for moderate income people. Otherwise, the manufacturing base in America, and especially here in central Pennsylvania, this is a longer slide than the last 3 years, but it just keeps on going the same direction. Jobs are shipped overseas, manufacturing and management processes become more efficient, but also more cold-blooded in some ways, so that people no longer have a job because the guy next to them can now do twice as much work. So finding some way to rebuild our manufacturing base is one of the things I'm thinking the hardest about. I think that the alternative energy industry has enormous potential, and people have talked about having an Apollo program for energy, just like we did for space. And my thinking on that is that when the space program was kicked off, the scientists said, hey, California, Texas, and Florida would be pretty good places to have our space centers, but also the legislators from those states filled out the applications and stood in line all night to be first in line. And I'm thinking states like Pennsylvania and Michigan that have existing manufacturing capacity, that have skilled workforces, their legislators need to be first in line with those applications when that Apollo Energy program starts. And I want Cape Canaveral to be right here in central PA. When that grand jury report came out, I immediately got a copy of the whole thing and read it, and I agree with every single one of their recommendations with one exception. They call for term limits, and I would rather work on that at the other end. I think it would be more constructive to have publicly financed campaigns. I think if we make it easier for qualified people to run for office, tie it less to how much personal fortune you have, it would be more likely that we would have constantly revolving best qualified candidates. But otherwise, the most striking thing is the walking around money, the discretionary funds that the governor and both the Republican and Democratic caucuses award themselves in every budget year. This is completely non-transparent use of taxpayer dollars. It's hundreds of millions of dollars in some cases. And I don't see any excuse for that except perpetuating the existing bureaucracy in Harrisburg. Other things they said were just purely common sense about stopping duplicating efforts with print shops and computer service and things like this, things that legislators need to have available to them, but there's no reason except paranoia and control issues and providing a job for your sister-in-law. Serving on the Lewisburg Borough Council has taught me, first of all, that for better or worse, I'm very good at this kind of thing. I have an inner accountant that isn't satisfied until the numbers match up down in the corner, and I like people. I think they're interesting and charming, and so I don't like to fight with them. I like to find some way to get along with them and work with them to figure out how to get the numbers to come out. I think it's going about as well as I could have hoped for. The word on the street is that there's a lot of uncertainty among people of all parties about the candidates, who they are, what they've done, what they stand for, and the registration numbers are overwhelmingly Republican in this district, but I've been meeting regularly and purposefully with Eastern Union County Republicans in the last weeks, and I'm hearing a lot of very positive things from them. Some of them who didn't know me before have been, here's a direct quote, "You're not a flaming liberal. I thought you were a flaming liberal." So introducing myself to some people who maybe didn't know me before, and I think there's a real possibility of people crossing party lines. I am not using any Harrisburg-based consultants. The only pledge I made in this campaign after my experience in 2008 running for the state senate, I pledged not to solicit funds, and I've held to that. Some people have sent me money. But I think I've received less than $1,000 and spent less than $500 so far. A consultant charges you $2,500 just to have a sit-down first-time meeting. So that was on purpose. My wife is my main consultant. She tells me what to wear, and tells me how I did in debates, and then I also have some other friends who I've made in local political circles, and as I said, I'm really actively reaching out to the other side to see what we've got in common and consult with them, consult with my neighbors, and